Welcome all. Welcome to this session of Object-Oriented Programming 1. Today we'll be starting with a new chapter, that is chapter number 3, or you can say unit 3, that is methods and arrays. So let me show the disclaimer first. Okay, let's start with the session. So this is unit 3, methods and arrays. Okay, basically we have learned about creating classes, right? So classes have methods, and methods behave quite typically. So let's see how the methods are used basically in Java classes. Okay, so see, methods can be used to define reusable code. You know, this is the best part. Java is very much, Java became popular because of this reusability part of this, facility. So methods can be termed as, defined to make code which is reusable, and also organize and simplify the coding part. That reusability will help you simplify the coding part. Okay, so basically what do you need to define a method has got a signature. What has it got? A method basically has got a signature, and that signature is how it is defined. Okay, so that signature consists of method name, then the parameters, whatever parameters it accepts, and then whatever return value can, what types of value that it can return, and what body to execute. These four things consist of what, of the signature or the main method. So see, sorry, not main method but all the methods. And so see, this is how it is defined. Let me just zoom into it so we'll be able to easily see it. Check this out. This method, this is the syntax how a method is defined. So what does it have? It has got a modifier which specifies the scope of the method. It modifies the scope of the method. Accessibility of the method basically is modified by this modifier. It may be public, protected, private, or maybe the default one. Then it has got a return value type. Okay, now this return value type defines what type of value this method returns. So it may be any primitive data type, it may be, it may be any primitive data type, or user defined data types like object data types like classes or strings or something like that, right? So this return value defines what kind of value this particular method returns. Okay, and then there are list of parameters. Okay, now see, this method name is nothing but the, we had talked about identifiers, right? So whatever rules apply to identifiers do apply to the method name, because a method name is also nothing but an identifier which is used to identify the method, right? So all the naming conventions that apply to identifiers do apply to method. Okay, and mostly all the naming conventions or naming rules that apply to variables are similar for method also. So you see, method basically starts with a small case letter. Over here you can see M is small case, right? uh, Method name starts with a small case. If there are subsequent words inside the method name, then they begin with capital letter. You can see this method, in this method name, M starts with small case letter, N starts with uppercase letter. Why? Because this is a, this name part, this much part is a separate word, and this method part is a separate word. Both are separate words, right? So in order to make it visualize and to, to let the people know that these two are separate words, what do? Is we specifically uh, make this first letter of the second word capital. This is first letter of the second word. Second word is name. First word is method, right? So you see the method name starts with small case letter, but the subsequent words first letter are made capitalized. Here also you can see that in this return value type, if you particularly check this, then in this return value type, just a minute. Okay. Here also you can see then in this return value type, you can check that this R starts with small case value, right? Then this V has got a uppercase value. This T has got uppercase character. You see? So, so the naming convention follows this. The method name follows the naming convention for identifiers or variables, we can say, right? So we have three things seen right now, that a method has got a method declaration has got a modifier, a return value type, and the method name, and then the list of parameters separated by comma, right? And here in Java, we also have this method body. We cannot define it without the method body. If we define it like this, if we say that here it is, the method body ends over here. If we put a semicolon over here, right at the end of this line, that means that this body does not belong to this particular method. So what happens is the method has to be declared abstract. Since it does not have any body, it is needs to be declared what? It needs to be declared as abstract. Okay. So make sure that you have body in your method and you don't provide the semicolon over here, because there is a following body after the method declaration. Okay. So this is how you define. See, check this out. In this example here, you can see in this particular example, this example that has been given over here. Okay. Here this public is the modifier, which says that this max method is available publicly. Then there is one more modifier we have added is static. So that specifies that this is a what? This is a class method. This method belongs to class. This does not belong to object. Okay. And then the return value type is there, which specifies that this method will return an integer value, and the method name is there. Okay. And the list of parameters are specified over here. These are the list of parameters. Okay. You see that? So the list of parameters have been declared with the data types, and from here the method body begins, and over here the method body ends. You see, here the body begins, and at this place the body ends. Okay, understand? And in between in between this body you also need to have a return keyword or a return statement which returns some variable which is of type integer. Which is of type what? Which is of type integer. So if you don't have this return statement, then it will give you error. It will not allow you to compile, because you are saying that it will return an integer value. So that's why you need to return it. Okay. So that's why you need this return statement. If it would have been void over here, if it would have been void instead of int, then there was no need of this particular return statement. Then there was no need at all. Okay. So that is how you define a method. Okay. And how do you call that method? See, calling the method basically it depends on from where you are calling. Okay. So if you are calling it from inside the class only, then you can call it like this, simply saying max a comma 4. We declare one integer value called maximum, and we call this max method where we pass two integer values to it, and the maximum is calculated, and the result is basically returned to this maximum variable, right? So we say max is this maximum, or we can directly say max is this max. We can call this particular method directly inside this println. That is also possible. What will it do? It will first call this method, the control will go execute the method, then the control will put the value over here, whatever will be the return value, that will be put over here, and then this println will be executed. Okay. This is how we use a method. So for example, there is a program to find maximum number out of 2. So for this kind of program, we can use this kind of method. Okay. Okay. Now, so see what happens is, if there is a program that we say that we want to find a maximum out of 2, then how will it behave? Check this out. This is the program that we have made. In this main method, we have the logic. We have declared 2 variables over here, specifically which one? I and j, and assigned them some values. And then we have passed those values to max method. So what happens is, when the control comes in this main method, it first declares these 2 and assigns them the value. Then before declaring this k and before assigning it a value, it calls this method. So the control goes to this method, it executes the method, and then returns the result over here. So what does it execute? It puts this i's value to this num1, it puts this j's value into this num2, okay, and it declares a result variable, and then checks if num1 is greater than num2, then result equal to num1, else result equal to num2, and then you simply return the result. Okay, and whatever the result is returned, that is assigned to this variable k. Okay, and then you simply print, and then you execute the statement and you print that the maximum out of I and j is this k. Okay, so this is a simple program that does what? This simple program is to find a maximum number out of 2. Okay, using a method. You see that? Using a method. Which method have we used? We have used max method. Now see, let me show you some typical things about this particular code. Now this code, let's suppose that this code has been written inside a class. So it is public class, let's say A, and here the code starts and the code will end over here. You see, the class starts from this location. Okay, the class starts from here. This is the start of the class A, out of the class A. Okay, and here is the end of the class A. So what happens is, inside this class A, we have this main method, okay, and this max method. 2 methods are there. How many methods do we have? Yes, how many methods we have? 2 methods over here we have. Okay, now tell me, what is the scope or visibility of these 2 methods? The scope or visibility or the modifier that we have put over here is basically what? The scope is public for both the methods. So these methods are publicly accessible outside the class. Okay. Second thing, what other modifier do we see over here which is common in both of them? Well, that is static. You can see. So both the methods are publicly available. Okay, you can see. Then both the methods are static methods. So static methods are those methods basically, you know, which belong to class and not to object. Okay, and not to object. That is to remember. Static methods don't belong to object. Static methods belong to the class. Okay. And what is the return type? Well, over here, the return type is void in main, and here the return type is int. Right. So check this out. Why this public? Because we want this main method to be publicly available, to be called from the, directly from the what? To be called directly from the JVM calls it, right? So from that JVM, this main method should be called. Static, because the JVM should not need the need to create an object of class A. Void doesn't, because main does not return anything, right? And a string array of arguments which represents what? Which represents the, which basically represents the command line arguments. And here what do we have? Here we have public because we want it to be available, accessible publicly. Static because we are calling it from main, which is static method. So static methods can only be called from static methods. It cannot be called directly. You see, it's like, or basically it can be called from non-static methods also, but the vice versa is not true. You cannot call the non-static methods from the static methods directly. So those kind of restrictions are available. So that's why in order to not make an object of this class A, what we have done is we have made this max as a static method. So you can see we can directly call this method over here without creating the object of this class A. That's why we have made this method max as static. We want to directly call it without making any object of class A. Understand? And it returns an integer and it takes two parameters as integer numbers. Okay, so that is what is specific to this method. Okay, understand how do you implemented the whole class? The class begins from here, it ends over here. So this class consists of two methods. This is one is this method, second is this method. Okay, this particular method starts from here, main method starts from here, ends over here. Max method starts from here, ends over here. Okay, in this way the whole class has been structured. Okay, and both the methods does not belong to any object, it belongs to the class, so can be directly accessed using what? It can be directly accessed outside of this class. How can we access this? Outside of this class you can access it with the help of class name, saying a dot max and pass two numbers to it. You see, outside of the class you can use it like this, by calling a dot method name, a dot max. Okay, so that is a simple use of methods, and that too specifically the static methods we have seen. Okay, okay, and now check this. One more program is there that says, right, this is a program to print a grade of given score, right? So I think you people we had seen this kind of code in last week, and I told you people to make it. Someone of you have even made this program. So this is the program where we can utilize the method, the concept of method. In this, what do we say? We say the grade is, here it is simply printing the grade is hard coded over here and sent to this print gate method. So the control goes over here, and the 78.5 is passed as a value to the score variable, that is the score parameter. And then here we check whether the score is greater than 90, or it is greater than 80, or it is greater than 70 or 60. In that way we print something. Okay, and similarly we again call that for some different value. Okay, so this is a very, very simple class. So check this out. The class starts from here and the class ends over here. What is the class? Test void method. Okay, that's the name of the class, and it has got two methods. Which two methods are there? It has got a main method, and it has also got what? It has also got a print grade method, right? Two methods have been defined. Okay, and this print grade method has been called two times. So what happens is it executes two times. So from here one control goes and comes back, and from this statement also the control goes and comes back. You see, this is what happens. Okay, any doubt regarding this, please do let me know. Okay, similarly there is one more logic, and for that also you can use methods, that is swapping the variable. We had used this logic, right, in the previous one of the programs. There you can use this particular method part. Okay, so now see what happens is everything gets passed by value. Now this you have to understand very properly. This pass by value concept has to be understood very properly. Okay, so please do focus over here. Okay, so here what happens is, check this out. When you invoke a method, what does it say? When you what? When you specifically invoke a method with an argument. What happens when you call a method? This can, you can also say when you basically call a method. Okay, what happens when you call a method with an argument? That is when you pass an argument to a method, what happens at that time? Yes, so well, basically the value of the argument is passed to the parameter. What happens? The value of the argument is passed to the parameter, and this is referred to as pass by value. So what happens is that the variable whose value was passed, the original variable whose value is passed, is basically not affected by any changes made to the parameter in the called method. So see what happens. Let me go show you an example. In this class called increment, there are two methods. This is one method, main, and then we have another method called as increment. Okay, and here we define a variable x in main method, and then we print its value. We say before the call x is the value x, so we just concatenate x value over here. Okay, so we put this as an output. Then what do? Then we call this increment method. So the control from here goes over here, and this x value, which was what, basically 1, that x value was transferred to this variable n. Okay, now whatever operations you do on this n, whatever operations you do over here does not get reflected onto this x. If you say n plus plus and say n inside the method is what, it will be obviously, this will print 2. Here what does it print? Here it prints 1. Then here what does it print? Here it prints 2, right? Then the control goes back. The control goes back to the next statement after increment. So the control goes on to this println statement, and it says after the call x is what? What will it print? It will again print over here as the output as 1 only, not 2, because this 2 has not taken effect on this x. In fact, this 2 has taken effect on this n. So what happens is, it is something like this. When you pass this x to this n, it is something like saying like this: int n is equal to x. What happens over here? The value of x gets transferred to the variable n, right? The value of x, that is 1, gets transferred to to n. So whatever operations you do on n, does not affect x. It's as simple as that, right? So the output is something like this. Check this out. X is 1. First the x is 1. Then you call the method where it says n inside the method is 2. It increments in this line number 10. It increments the value of n, but that does not affect the value of x. So again, after going back on line number 6, we again have this println which says after the call x is again 1. So the value of x does not get affected. You see why? Because the scope of x is up to the main method only, and similarly the scope of this n is also up to increment method only. So we can say this x is nothing but a local variable. What is this variable? This is a local variable. And what is this n? This is nothing but a parameter, which is almost equivalent to the local variable. This is almost equivalent to local variable. So obviously the variable local to this method does not have any effect on the variable local to this method, or similarly vice versa is true. So both the variables are declared in both the different methods, so they have no relationship. Only with the thing is here the value of this local variable is transferred to this particular parameter. That's it. Otherwise there is no relationship. Okay. Understand what is the pass by value? Yes, we have to typically understand this thing. What is pass by value? Okay. Now there is no pass by reference in terms of primitive data types in Java, because Java does not support pointers. So there is no case of pass by reference in case of primitive data types. But yes, if object data type is there, then there is a something called as pass by reference that we will see. Okay. So that was pass by value. Okay, how you define methods and how you pass the variables into it or the parameters to it, and how those parameters are being passed using their value. Okay, now let's see a new concept called overloading of methods, or overloading the methods. Basically overloading helps, enables us to define the methods with same name as long as their signatures are different. So there are a method with same name but a different signature. A method with same name but a different signature. So what is there inside the signature of a method? Yes, what is there inside the signature of the method? The scope is there, right? Then there is what? The modifier is there, right? Then specifically what? Then there is the return type is there, right? Then what is there? Then it is method name itself is there. Then what is there? There are parameters are there, right? The parameters are defined, right? And then there is a body, right? Okay, so overloading of methods can happen. That is, the same method name can be used for another method also, until and unless you have a different signature. Okay, so what difference shall you have in the signature? See, please make sure the difference in the signature is with respect to the parameters. This is very, very important. If you have the same parameters, same method name, but a different return type, okay, then that is not a valid overloading. Okay, so the part that is compulsory to be changed, you will ask, so sir, which is the part that is to be compulsorily to be changed in order to do method overloading? So this is the part that needs to be changed compulsory in order to do valid overloading of methods. Okay, in order to declare valid overloaded methods. Okay, fine. So we have, let's suppose this question has been asked. We have to find maximum out of 2 numbers, 3 numbers, and which can be int or double. Okay, so we have to find what? We have to find maximum out of 2 numbers and also three numbers, and these two can be integer or double, right? So here there are two or more possible matches for calling a method. And so what we have to do is, once we define overloaded methods, we have to make sure that there is no ambiguous invocation or there is no ambiguous declaration. Okay, so check this out. Over here, we have two methods. One is max with int and double declaration. One is this max declared with return. It takes parameters. One is integer and another is double, and another is max with double and int. So another max takes first as double and second as integer, right? So what happens now if we say max 1 comma 2, so what happens is this will give you a compile time error. This will not allow you to compile because this is an ambiguous call. Why? Because this 1 and 2 both can match with the integer and double also. So which one to call? Either this one to this, so either to assign this one as integer or to assign this two as integer. What to do? That is confusing for the compiler. So the compiler will give you error in this kind of code. Why? Because this is an ambiguous method declaration. Okay. So you have to make sure that this kind of ambiguous declaration does not happen when you are doing method overloading. So see, this is an example of method overloading, but although invalid method overloading. Why it is an example of method overloading? Because the signature are same. You see, this much part is same, right? And the number of parameters are same, but the data types of the parameters are different. This is int and double. One is int and double. Another is double and int. Okay. So you could have defined it in a different manner. You could have said it over here as double and the second one also as double. And here you could have said it as int and the second one to be int. That would have been a valid, a valid method declaration, right? That would have been a valid declaration, method declaration. Okay. So let me show it to you in the programming sense. Okay. Let us create a program specifically. So here we say new program called as ambiguous overloading. Ambiguous overloading. Okay. Okay. So we have this class. Inside that class, we have main method. Inside this main, what do we have? We have a max method, right? So we'll define a max method. We'll say public static void max. Does it return something? Yes, it should return something, right? So it should return either an int or let's say a double, and it takes two parameters, a and b. Let's call it as a and b, or simply we call it as n1 and n2. And it has got what? It has got some coding, right? If n1 greater than n2, then what? Return what? Return n1. Else else return and 2. You see that? Okay. Okay. So it says that void methods cannot return a value. Okay, so we need to define double, and this is max. Okay. So now there is no error. Okay. And here we will be calling system.out.println, and inside this we will be calling max 1, 2. Okay. So see, now if there is only one method, there is no issue in that. There is no error at all, and if we run it, we will even get the return value as what? Okay. There is this some issue. Let me just solve it out. Okay. Now see, the issue is that only that we have to add a specific So there is no issue with our code. There is some issue with some other codes, not with this particular code. Okay. So you can see the output is 2.0. Why it is 2.0? Can you tell me? We have passed 1 and 2, which are integer numbers. Why it is 2.0? Yes. I'll just maximize it so you can see. Why it is 2.0? So check this out. Here we are passing two integers, right? This 1 goes to this n1, this 2 goes to this n2. But once we compare it, that's fine. But when we return it, obviously this return n2 happens. But what we are returning over here, check this out, it's double data type. So while getting returned, it sees that it has to be converted into a double data type. So when it is given to println, it returns 2.0 and not 2. Okay. Now see, since there is only one method, there is no issue. But if we make a new method, overloaded method, see if that is the same signature, it gives us errors. Check this out. This is the same signature. So that's why it is giving us error. Understand? This is the same signature, so that's why it is giving us error. So now what we will do is, let me do one thing. Let me make this as double, and let me make this also as double. Okay. So now here it is giving us error. Why? You can check this out. What error is it giving? It's saying the method max int comma double is ambiguous for the type this one. Right? What if I call it like this, 1, 2.0? Then it will not give us error. You see? But if I say 1, 2, it will give us error. Why? Because what happens is this 1 can be given to this n1, and this 2 also can be given to this n2. Because integer is a smaller data type than double, so obviously the integer literal can be passed to double variable. So it is something saying int n1 is equal to 1 and n2 is equal to, or double n2 is equal to 2. So see, although we are assigning this 2, which is integer literal, when it gets stored inside this double variable, it becomes a double value, that is 2.0, a number with decimal point. But this is a legal assignment, so it is possible. So since it is possible, this max 1, 2 can call this declaration also, and it can also call this declaration. So now the question arises that which one to call. The compiler gets confused. You see, over here the compiler gets confused to whether this assign this two to this double, or whether to assign this one to this double, or whether to assign this one to this integer, and or to assign this two to this integer, right? So in that way it gets confused because all this, the values are assignable to both the declarations, so it gets confused. If we change the type of the literal, let's say I change this 1 to 1.0, then it is clear that from here we are passing what? From here, from this max, we are passing, from this call, we are passing one double and another is integer. So obviously that maps to this method call. One is the double and another is integer, right? But if we put it as both as integers, then it gets confused to where to pass it, because the integer can also be given to the integer, but and also to the double variable. So it gets confused. Okay, understand how this works? So we have to make sure while overloading the methods that the data types are proper. So what was the question? Program to find maximum out of 2 numbers and 3 numbers, and which can be int or double. So let's consider that there are 2 comparisons for integer. We can make it like this: int, okay, which returns an int, then double, which returns a double. So now there is no confusion. See, both are integers, so it has to be passed to this int only. Right? If we run this, obviously the output will be in the form of integer only. Output will be in the form of integer only. That's it. You see that? Yes. Okay. So that's it. That is why. That is how we handle this method call max. Okay, and that's how we do the. Okay, we have to also make it for 3 numbers, right? So what we can do is, let me reduce the code. No, let it be as it is. Instead of reducing, what we'll do is we'll simply declare 2 more methods having 3 numbers, int and 3. So if n1 is greater than n2 and n1 is greater than n3, then return n1, and then we say else if n2 is greater than n1 and n2 is greater than n3, then return n2. Okay, then return what? n2, and then we say else return n3. It's as simple as that. Okay, fine. So that is a simple code for what? Returning. So we need to declare n3. Okay, that's it. Now we have done what? See, we have 4 methods. We have now got declaration of 4 methods. You can see over here, I just minimized it, right? This ambiguous overloading class has got, along with main, there are 4 methods, out of which the 2 methods have been overloaded. Max is overloaded. In fact, the max itself is overloaded. So there are 4 overloaded methods with the same name. Okay. See, there might be a difference in the return data type. There might be a difference. But the major difference that is needed, so if we consider these 2, the major difference is needed is in the number and also the type of the parameters. Okay, so that's the major difference that counts. Okay, that is called as overloading of methods. So I think that's it for the day. Let us let me see. Okay, scope and other things like that we'll see later on. Okay, so any doubt in this, please do let me know and we'll have interaction regarding it. Okay, yes, any doubt? I'll stop the recording.